This is a special edition and we're focusing on writing. So basically writing with Ryan Gibson. Let's get into it. You just gave us a snippet of what happens, when you get into story writing and all that. And I watch a lot of TV just like most people do.
Yeah.
And I love TV. I love the Botswana film and TV space as well as, everything that you get from everywhere around the world. And, the one thing that I always pick up with a lot of what I watch, just like the show we just talked about, is the relevance to the market. Now, when you sit down as yourself, let's say, because with stories, sometimes it's 4 writers, it's 5 writers, but there's always, I believe, the first one who comes up with the idea, and the other ones chip in.
Yeah.
So the first person sitting there coming up with the idea, how important is it to make it relevant to the market you are in?
Well, there's 2 sides of thought to that question. It's a great question. How important is it to make sure that what you're writing is relevant? Imagine a wave that's coming from the middle of the ocean, from some random place, and it's just moving ever so slowly. That wave could be comedy, and all of a sudden, all you're seeing out there is comedy. Or that wave could be serialized shows like Criminal Minds or procedural shows like Criminal Minds. Or it could be more family-oriented fare. It just depends on when you are. What are you looking at? Where you are based and where you're looking, because obviously depending on what country, and sometimes that changes what people are into, what people want.
Oh yeah.
But I'll speak from an American space. A couple years back, everything was procedurals. There were Criminal Minds and. Like all the Law and Orders, all 52,000 Law and Orders.
Never ending
Law and Order, and it probably never will.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other shows like that. And people tried to come up with more Criminal Minds and more Law and Orders because that was what was hot.
That's the wave.
So that's the wave. So that's the one thought, is that you go with the wave. The other thought is you pick up a big ass boulder and you throw it into the ocean and you make your own wave.
Oh, yes.
So a perfect example of that would be, what's that? It just was in my head. Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
So Breaking Bad was different in so much as, or even actually before Breaking Bad, Dexter
yes.
was different because.
Yeah, I missed that one.
With Dexter?
I never watched
Well, Dexter was darker. It had a procedural-esque quality to it, but it was a serialized show in which every episode kind of flowed into the next one. The story continued. It built upon itself. But there was a Criminal of the Week still kind of vibe to it, very similar to a Criminal Minds or Law and Order. But the thing that it did that was different was that the lead character was a bad guy, or what we would consider a bad guy.
Yeah.
So usually your protagonist or your lead character is somebody who you root for. It's somebody doing something usually positive, or they're struggling up the mountain and you want to see them get to the top. In this case, you're looking at this guy and he's struggling against his darker impulses, but he's killing bad people.
And let me stop you there. Just talking waves and everything. Yes. You look back at 90s TV and everything. Yeah, the good guy was the good guy. The main character, the lead. Were good people.
Yes.
Then over the years, it kind of changed now.
We got darker.
We're following the bad guy. That's the lead. So now as a writer, how do you balance this? Like you said, it's either you follow the wave or you create your own wave. And for me, I'm seeing there's so many layers to it. How do you find a balance within all of that?
Personally, I got a big old bunch of boulders in my backyard. And I like to go reach for them. Because the reality is that if you never know when that wave is going to crest and then it'll be over. Like you'll have an idea, you'll bring it, and then you'll bring it to people, and then you'll find out, oh, we're not interested in that anymore. I was talking about Dexter. I had a script that was very similar to it. And I brought it, my friend pushed me to write it, and I wrote it. And I'd never written anything like that. He was like, the bad guy could be the lead. And I was like, no one wants to see that. Bad guy can't be the lead. You can't do that. Yeah. And I remember he said it to me, and I said, you crazy. And I remember this distinctly, and he'll laugh at this. He was my roommate at the time. I went upstairs, I took a shower, and in the shower I said, damn it, he's right. That would work.
But you didn't go ahead.
No, I did. I went and I wrote
Okay.
it. I wrote it. And I took it and they loved it. And then the only way that it didn't make it to air was because Dexter was coming out. And they beat us.
Similar.
And it was too similar and they beat us to market. They were ahead of us by like 6 months. So I had never heard of Dexter at that time. So when it came out, it was the funniest thing. After I found out about it, when I was driving home all disappointed and hurt, the first thing I saw going up on the billboard right around the corner from my house
was Dexter.
Dexter. They put up a flyer for it. And I was like, you have got to be kidding. And it sat there for like 3 months. Every day I would leave and drive past it.
Constant reminder
of the opportunity missed. But it was a good lesson because it told me that I need not wait for the wave or go searching for it or look around. Though, that's why I said there's two parts to it. If you want to be a wave rider, you want to be a surfer, by all means, surf. Right. If you have something that's within the framework of what's happening and it speaks to what the market is asking for, do it. But I promise you, if you do have something on the other side that you feel super strongly about, do that also. Right. But recognize that there's still a chance that the thing you feel strongly about may not get made for a long time.
All right.
Breaking Bad took years to get made, as an example. Well,
yeah. All right, man. We do continue this conversation right here. Writing with Ryan Gibson, special edition right here on Gabs FM. Keep it locked. It is Gabs FM, power to engage your world. And we do continue the lounge convo right here, special edition. Writing with Ryan Gibson, who is a writer and producer. And he was just taking us through, the many different processes of writing. But obviously, yes, relevancy being at the top, because you don't want to write a story that sometimes, well, okay, that's also contradictory because maybe you don't want to ride the wave. No,
there's nothing wrong with riding the wave. That's why I said, though, if you want to ride the wave, ride it, because it's a smart business move to go in the direction everybody else is going. If the opportunity is there, take it. What I'm just saying is it doesn't mean you shouldn't be creating something that's fresh and brand new.
So which could be something that's not really relevant with your market. It could be something that is going to shock the market.
Exactly. Because after Breaking Bad ended, everybody, and I mean everybody, was literally, I'd take meetings and they would say the exact same thing. Do you have the next Breaking Bad? Do you have the next? And I would sit there and go, no.
Because
I have the first. That was the wave. It's done. I have the first this or the first that. And I would tell them that.
Now, as a writer, this thing of writing waves, you're from a place where obviously there are a lot of TV networks versus you look at it in Botswana. But now, because of the internet, things are a bit easier. But just because Botswana is where it is and we haven't been having a lot of content get into some of these big streaming sites, it's still kind of difficult for us to get product there. But we have a lot of product. Now, in this essence where obviously TV has changed because of all these dynamics, because of, things looking at riding the wave and not riding the wave. How then as a writer, again, you're sitting there, you're coming up with a story. You're probably there with your team. You've come up with the idea. They come in, they start contributing because that's how it works. How then do you balance where to take it? Because there's so many platforms that offer viewing opportunities. And obviously, again, I know the money will also somehow dictate
money
where
dictates.
you take it. Yeah.
Money bends you. Yeah. It definitely bends you. But the reality is that as you step into this writing space, one of the things we're always pushing people to remember is that this is a business.
Oh, yes.
And that you as a writer are your own individual company. You're your own corporation, you're your own business, you're your own deal. And if you're not already thinking of yourself as a business, then I don't know what you're doing. Because you have to be thinking, okay, how does this make financial sense? Not only about where do you go, but what are they doing? What do they already have in their space? So it's research. So if you want to go to Netflix and you've written up, like an idea comes, whatever the idea is. Let's tell a story about a radio station, a guy who's a DJ on a radio station. We're telling that story. If that's the story you're telling, it.
If you actually write that story, I'm going to sue you.
Hey.
For the royalties.
Here we go. Y'all heard it, but I said it before he said it. So you guys heard me. Y'all back me up. So if you tell the story about it, if it's a drama about a radio station and all the stuff that happens here in this radio station, if that's the story and that's what comes to you, then write it. Then after you're finished writing it, you want to ask yourself, where does this live? Where in the space of film and television can I take this? Does Netflix have something like this? Is this in the Netflix? Does this feel like their brand? Does this feel like Apple TV? Does this feel like DSTV? What does this feel like? And if you say to yourself, it feels like all of them, because sometimes you can write something that crosses, then you should be sending out letters. You should be reaching out to every single one of them. That's the work. The work is to engage them where they are. Maybe even shoot a small trailer for it, where you may have to spend some of your own money, but that's about belief. How much do you believe in your project? If you believe in it enough, will you go and shoot a small teaser trailer for it and then send it out to them and let them see if they want it? Or will you go even deeper and pay for the pilot and put that out? I mean, it just depends. But the reality of it is you always want to be thinking the next step. And if you don't know the next steps, then you're wasting your time, because you're going to write something and it's just going to do like a lot of people's stuff. It's going to sit on a table in a drawer somewhere collecting dust.
All right. Again, on that one, how this writing process and everything, how frustrating is it? Or not frustrating, is it? I don't know. When you've written something, you're a writer. Let's say you just come in, you write, I come in, I'm the one who, I'm going to shoot this, we sit down like, I'm now taking over, I'm going to shoot this, we shoot the pilot. You are the person who wrote this. Now you and me have gotten into an agreement, and then I take it to, let's say, any platform, any channel, and then they sit on it. How do you deal with such as a writer? Because being a creative is just one of those things that frustration is part of the package that comes with it. How do you deal with it as a writer?
You keep writing, because I've been there. And the reality is, in the States, in that whole scenario that you just painted, where someone has taken the project, they've taken it to TV, whoever, and they said, yes, we want it, and then they pay you for it, then they take it and they go, we want it, but we don't know when we want it. And they put it over here, and then it gets shelved for what, it could be the guy, they could have hired Toomey Bear to star in it, and then Toomey gets, God forbid, she gets injured.
Oh, yes.
And then now they got to sit on it for 6 months. And then when she gets well again, she's supposed to be doing a movie. So then that pushes it back further. And then and then something else hot comes and takes its place. But in the meantime, what you don't want to do as a writer is sit around waiting for that. I never want to be waiting. Oh, yes. So as soon as I'm done with one project, when I'm finished and I know it's done, meaning I've written it and I wrote the best 2 words in the English language, the end, at the bottom of it, I'm good. I don't have anything else to do with it until someone tells me we're going to give you more money to do more. Right. Until then, I'm moving on to the next project.
In that way, again, still in that realm of just writing and selling, or writing and partnering with whoever you're partnering with. Let's talk splits.
Okay.
Like, just give me a scenario. You write something. I come in. I'm the production house.
Okay.
Like, you're just the freelance writer.
Right, freelance writer.
You bring this thing, you come in with your team, we love it. Okay, cool. We're going to change this.
Which happens.
We're going to go ahead and shoot. And the final edit might change as well. Maybe.
Well, I've already been paid then. In that scenario, I should have already been paid.
So I want to understand.
Yeah.
When you come in, here is the document. Boom. When, as a writer, should you start? How should you process your thing? Do you want a once-off payment, or do you go into, okay, cool, let's go into a deal that's based on how it does, but I want at least 100K or 50K or 20K up for now? Yeah.
Well, it really depends on where you are in your career. So if you're an established writer and people know you and they know what you're capable of, it's a lot easier to have conversations about what we call back-end money. Which would be the money that comes after something's been put out. Yeah. If it was me, I would probably take a percentage up front, because you do want to get paid for your time.
Oh, yes.
And then I would probably want, again, believing in yourself. I would ensure that I was a producer on the project, that was in my deal and structured in my contract, that if and or when this gets published, made, shot, filmed, whatever, I'm a producer with the option to be a writer in the room. If not, the showrunner, depending on what you want to structure. Because showrunning means that you're the person who's in charge of the show, meaning you're running everything on the business end as well as the creative end. But if you don't have the reputation to do that, if you don't have a background in that, then it may be more difficult and maybe easier to just get a job as a writer in the room. And it happens. People get jobs as writers on their own stuff, but they are not the ones running it, because they don't have the background. They don't know how to run the business end of it to ensure that when we hand you a budget, you don't blow it all on something stupid. trying to have somebody jump out of an airplane when you could have easily CGI'd that.
Yeah.
You know.
Or maybe sometimes CGI is, I mean, look, we're in Botswana, and sometimes maybe
CGI is too
have
expensive.
to bring a 5-man team
Exactly.
from wherever, and they're going to say, yeah.
$10 million.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. You know, and that's your whole budget. So it's like, it's not worth it.
Ryan, we're going to continue this with an extra 5 minutes because I want to bring it home as well because you're operating within the Botswana space now. And obviously you've done a bit of your research. So I just want to ask you what your thoughts are on the Botswana space as far as writing goes. Do keep it locked. It's Gabs FM. Talking film and TV in Botswana. This is the Lounge Convo. You know, this is what we get to do every Sunday right here on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. And we are in conversation right here on this special edition with Ryan Gibson, who is a writer and a producer. And he was just taking us through, you know, the different scenarios that are out there, you know, because he's experienced. So he's talking from his experience and what he's seen. Now, you're operating here in Botswana, Ryan. Obviously, when you come to a new market in this sense for you, you have to do your research and, you know, you sit back, you know, and you chill in the background and, you know, you watch TV, you watch this, you talk to people, you gauge the temperature, you gauge the environment.
Yes.
And we're talking writing. So from your point of view as a professional, where would you place us in terms of our storytelling? Are we speaking from Motswana's voice? Are we relating to the person who we want to watch this thing? What have you seen? What have you discovered?
I think what I'm seeing right now is that as a country, in terms of your stories, they're relatable and they're strong and they're interesting. And I think that the world would like to see them. I think the biggest issue now is probably just in the way that some of those stories are presented. So that becomes about a production thing. That might be because I'd have to have seen a script from beginning and watch it go through to know where the hiccup is. But there's definitely hiccups. But I talk a lot about the fact that right now you guys are in your infancy. You're actually in your gestationcy.
You're still crawling.
I don't even know if that's a word. But you're still, the baby has not been given life yet. It has not taken its first breath.
Oh, I thought it was crawling.
We're not crawling yet. And the only reason it's not crawling is, and I talked about this recently, is that during those 9 months, there's preparation that happens. You go ahead and you get the crib and you get the diapers and you get the clothes and all of that stuff. Point to me. I want you to tell me where the clothes are. Tell me where the diaper is. Tell me what room the baby's going to live in. And if I ask you and if I ask anyone else in this entertainment space where that is, no one can point to that place. So then therefore you have no industry. Until you can point to the place where that can happen, you have people with industry aspirations who are doing work in silos in and around, but nothing's happening that can push it forward in a very meaningful way. And I think that that's the next step. So right now, I think what we're doing is to prepare. What Kumo wants to do right now is continue to push forward in the preparation of the place where the baby will live.
All right.
So that it can grow and crawl.
All right. Now, one of my things is always that I always feel like, okay, I don't see a lot of, private business spending on film. Because I'm sure you've discovered yourself. Yeah. I don't see a lot of that. I don't see a lot of money being put into independent projects. I mean, we're basically relying more on, let's say, the tender from the national broadcaster, because that's the biggest TV station here. And apart from that, most production companies would get 1 or 2 jobs there and there. And film is expensive.
Facts.
Film is very expensive, and I don't know. Is it that as well? Is it a money issue as well? Like,
no, well, I think if we were in the States, the reason that people invest privately, private sectors is engaged and invest is because they know there's money to be made, and it's been consistent and been proven over the course of decades that there's money to be made. Is that special only in the States? No.
Yeah.
There's money to be made here, but you have to convince the people who are here, because what they're seeing is something that doesn't necessarily generate long-term revenue. And the reality,
the figures are not really out there.
Exactly.
We don't, like I myself, over all these years,
you get a tender and then what?
Yeah.
You shoot the thing and then you have to go back and get another tender, as opposed to,
if you don't get another tender, the show dies.
as opposed to creating a space where you get the tender, you shoot the show, and now you've created a business that's self-sustaining for itself. And if you want another tender, it's because you want to do something else.
Wow.
And you're able to sustain it on its own. That's the work that has to happen. That's the business of entertainment that I stress constantly in anything that I talk about. Business of entertainment, business of entertainment. Understanding that this is a business. And when you understand it's a business and it needs to generate its own income, it needs to grow, it needs to expand, it needs to build. If you're not thinking capacity and you're not thinking growth and you're not thinking how can we upscale, then I don't know what you're doing. Then you're just, in the words of Denham Richards, you're playing games. Because all you're doing is doing make-believe, and no one is going to take that seriously. No one in the private sector is going to come in and go, let me give you money to continue to play games, only to have to give you money again next year.
All right. You know what? We're going to have that conversation at a different stage as well, because when you look at film, there's the distribution, and obviously in a company, just like in any other company, there's accountants. Yep. And when it comes to the private sector, if you want me to invest $2 million into your film project, I need to see, okay, what have you done? You say you've been in operation for 2 years. How have you sustained yourself? If I give you this money, won't it be going to paying debts and all the other stuff?
And it might.
Yeah.
But you better have a business plan that structures for the debt payment as well as for where you're going to take it next.
All right. In 30 seconds, what can you say to, let's focus on students, somebody who's studying film and TV and isn't writing. What can you say to that student right now who's listening?
I can say that if you have a good idea, recognize that you have the ability to say something. So start putting it down, outline it, take your time with it. There is no rush. The only rush is the rush that you put on it. So take your time, make sure you're clear about who the story is about. So know your characters, know your world, and very clearly know your story. And if you can do that, you will be in a position to have something that people will want. Because if you like it, other people will like it.
Love's Lounge.